Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name's Spencer. When I caught my girlfriend constantly comparing me to her so-called perfect ex. Not once, not twice, but enough times that I couldn't ignore it anymore. No matter what I did, I was never going to measure up to this ghost from her past. And when I finally hit my limit, I dumped her using the exact breakup method her ex used on her. But for you to understand why I handled it the way I did, you'll need the full story. And to give you that, we've got to go back. Back before the comparisons. Back before the relationship. Before the heartbreak. When I first met Kendra, I had just joined the company as a technician. She was already working there as an office assistant. You'd think maybe there was some spark, but no. We didn't click from day one. We kept it professional. But as time went on and our paths crossed more often, we started talking more. Just casual conversations. Slowly but surely, our friendship began to take shape. It grew the way friendships should, gradually, with shared moments and small exchanges that started to mean something. Before I realized it, I was actually looking forward to our quick chats during the day. As we grew closer, Kendra started opening up more about her personal life. She felt safe talking to me. She started telling me about her long-term relationship. From what she said, it sounded like one of those love stories that looked perfect on the outside, but was slowly crumbling on the inside. There were problems, but she always spoke about him like she still had hope. Like she was holding on to something she couldn't quite let go of yet. I didn't pry. And I definitely didn't give her advice, even though I could see things were off. See, it's tough to advise someone who's still in love. You could show them all the red flags, and they'd still run toward them if their heart aren't ready to let go. So I stayed neutral. I just listened while figuring she didn't need judgment, just someone who wouldn't talk over her pain. Then one day, she came to me at the office. She looked tired, not just physically, but emotionally drained. She told me her boyfriend had ended things. He broke up with her in a text message. At 6 a.m., she even showed me the screen. Word for word, the guy had written, "I can't do this anymore. I hope someday you find what you're looking for." I could see the shock still hadn't fully worn off. I didn't know what to say at first, because really, what do you say in that moment? But I tried. I gave her a few words of encouragement. I told her that a breakup text doesn't define her worth. I tried to lighten her mood where I could, cracking a few jokes, telling her that someday she'd look back on this and realize it was a blessing. Over the next few days, she started spending more time around me. She just needed someone. And I was there. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, so I didn't mind being her sounding board, her safe space. But I was careful. I knew she was fresh out of a long-term relationship, and emotionally, people can be very open when they're still hurting. That's how she seemed to me. I didn't want to be the guy who took advantage of that, even unintentionally. Still, we talk a lot. I gave her space to vent, to process things, and occasionally I'd try to gently nudge her toward moving on. Encourage her to meet new people, go out more, not close herself off. But months went by, and nothing changed. She wasn't seeing anyone. She wasn't even trying. If anything, she grew more comfortable and more attached to me. Then one weekend, out of the blue, she texts me saying she's bored and asks if she can come over. I didn't have anything planned, so I told her sure, come by. She shows up, holding a bag of snacks. We picked a movie and settled in on the couch. But halfway through the movie, right in the middle of a quiet scene, she turns to me and asks, "Why don't you see me in another way?" I paused, a little thrown off. Before I could even form a sentence, she went on, saying that she's been giving me green lights, dropping hints, trying to show that she likes me. And here I was, ignoring all of it. She sounded a little frustrated. Honestly, I was stunned because I liked her. I just never acted on it because I didn't want to ruin our friendship. And more than that, I didn't want to be another guy in her life rushing into something while she was still patching herself back together. But hearing her say she had feelings for me, that did something to me. It gave me butterflies straight up. I smiled and told her the truth, that I had feelings too. I was just trying to respect the boundaries we had, trying not to cross any lines. After that first day, Kendra and I agreed to give our relationship a shot. Things honestly felt amazing. We'd always had a strong friendship, but dating added a new level of closeness. Suddenly, the casual talks at work and weekend visits became something more meaningful. We started sharing more about our personal lives, texting throughout the day, and calling just to hear each other's voice before bed. Since we worked in the same company, we agreed to keep the relationship under wraps at first. Neither of us wanted to risk our jobs or make things uncomfortable with the people around us. It wasn't out of shame or anything like that. It was just about being cautious and smart. We checked the company's policy on workplace relationships and waited until we were sure it wouldn't be a problem before we let anyone know. Until then, it felt like we were in on a sweet little secret. During that early period, Kendra often said things that made me feel genuinely appreciated. She'd tell me, "You're so different from my ex. That's a good thing." And in those moments, I felt like I was exactly what she needed after going through a painful breakup. Her words gave me confidence, made me feel special. I didn't read too much into the comparisons at first, because they were always framed as compliments. To be honest, I took pride in the fact that I was different. I thought maybe I was the one finally helping her heal. Looking back now, I realized those little comments, "You're so different from my ex," carried a shadow I didn't see at first. But during those early days, I was all in. I began to notice that things changed after I accepted a new job. I got a better offer at another company. It felt like a big step forward for me, professionally and personally. At first, Kendra was supportive, or at least she seemed like it. But I noticed something strange not long after I made the switch. Instead of just saying something nice, she'd wrap it around a comparison, usually one that included her ex. She'd go, "You're really different from my ex, that's a good thing." But then she'd follow it up with something like, "He used to surprise me with breakfast in bed sometimes," just saying. And when I tried to do something thoughtful after hearing comments like that, she wouldn't really acknowledge it. Instead, she'd point out how her ex used to just know when she was having a bad day and would do something special without needing a prompt. It started to feel like I wasn't just her boyfriend. I was the guy being silently compared to someone who wasn't even around anymore. I tried to be understanding. I told myself maybe she didn't realize how often she brought him up. But as time went on, it became clear that these were patterns. And man, I started to feel like I was in a constant competition with someone who is somewhere else. I mean, how do you compete with someone's memory? Still, I tried. I started overcompensating. I tried to mirror the things she praised. Not because I wanted to be like her ex, but because I wanted to show her I could be thoughtful in my own way. But no matter what I did, it never felt like enough. Every effort I made seemed to land flat or come up short. The one that really stuck with me happened at a small get-together with some mutual friends. We were all sitting around, having drinks, laughing, and talking about relationships. Someone turned to Kendra and asked if I was the romantic type. She laughed and said, "Spencer's great, but my ex now he was thoughtful." The room went quiet for a second. I forced a smile, nodded like it was all good. But inside, I felt humiliated. That one sentence undid every effort I'd made. It felt like I was always going to be second best in her eyes, not for who I was, but for who I wasn't. She hadn't let go of someone who had already walked away. One weekend, Kendra was over at my place. That particular day, we were planning to make dinner together. Midway through prepping, we realized we were missing a few things, so I told her I'd run out quickly to get them. I grabbed my keys, threw on my hoodie, and headed out the door. But the moment I got to my car, I patted my pocket and realized I'd left my wallet inside. I turned around, went back into the apartment, and as I stepped in through the front door, I could hear her voice coming from the bedroom. The door was half closed, and I could tell she was on the phone. I paused because something about the way she was talking made me stop in my tracks. Then I heard her say, "He's trying to be the best man for me, and I love him, but I don't think I'll ever feel for him the way I felt for my ex." I froze, standing there. I didn't move. She wasn't done talking. She went on, laughing a little. She added, "My ex still flirts with me, and I won't lie, I like it." That was it. I didn't need to hear anything else. I didn't storm in. I didn't even let her know I was there. I just quietly picked up my wallet from the coffee table, turned around, and walked right back out the door. When I got to the store, I picked up the groceries. When I got back, I handed her the bag like everything was normal. We finished dinner, watched some show she liked, and she eventually left for her place that night, completely unaware that everything had changed. Like whatever hope I had been carrying around that maybe she'd grow out of comparing me to her ex and see me for who I was, it had finally burned out. And what made it worse was that she had no clue she'd crossed a line. And that's when the idea came to me. I remembered that morning she came to me months ago, heartbroken, showing me her phone with a simple message from her ex. I can't do this anymore. I hope someday you find what you're looking for. Now here we were, and I finally understood why he did it. So, I set an alarm for 5:58 a.m. I don't usually wake up that early unless work demands it, but I needed to be up. I needed the timing to be exact. When the alarm rang, I was already awake. By 6 a.m. on the dot, I sent that same breakup message into our chat. Word for word. I can't do this anymore. I hope someday you find what you're looking for. And then I put my phone down. Not even 2 minutes later, the screen lit up. She was calling me back to back. I didn't pick up. Then the messages started flooding in. What's this supposed to mean? Why would you say that? Can we talk, please? It was like watching a panic spiral in real time. She knew. She recognized those words immediately, and I could tell it hit her hard. Eventually, I sent her one final text. I'm tired of the comparison. Go be with your ex. Later that day, she showed up at my apartment. I could see her through the peephole, pacing, knocking softly at first, then a little louder. But I didn't move or open the door. A few hours later, she sent one last text. It read, I didn't realize what I was doing. Please don't shut me out like my ex did. That was the first time she realized she'd been repeating history. But by then, it was too late. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. After the dust had settled, I didn't block her. Sometimes silence speaks louder than any argument ever could. A few weeks after everything went down, a mutual friend of ours, someone from the office who had known both Kendra and me back when we were just co-workers, reached out. We hadn't talked much lately, but this time they messaged to ask how I was holding up. I told them I was fine, just focusing on work, try to stay steady. That's when they told me something. Apparently, Kendra had been going through it. Badly. She'd been quieter and withdrawn. According to this friend, she had been telling people she messed up, that she didn't realize how good she had it until it was gone. She finally understood that constantly dragging someone into a shadow comparison with a past lover wasn't love. It was selfishness. But even after hearing all that, I didn't reach out. I just knew that going back would only reopen a wound that was finally starting to close. So I let it end. Now that I've shared all this with you, I want to close with a few things I've come to understand, not just about relationships, but about self-respect. First, if you're not over your past, don't drag someone new into your emotional mess. It's not fair. People aren't rehab centers for unresolved feelings. If you're still looking back, you're not ready to move forward. Second, repeated comparisons in a relationship don't motivate, they wound. You may think you're being honest or open, but when you constantly measure your partner against someone else, especially someone who hurt you, what you're really doing is planting seeds of insecurity and resentment. That's not love. That's emotional sabotage. Third, respect has to go both ways. It's not just about being kind when things are easy. It's about being considerate when you're tempted not to be. I respected her space, her healing, her history. I just wish she had offered the same in return. And finally, sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's clarity. It's you realizing that love shouldn't feel like a constant battle for validation. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stop proving your worth and step back to protect your peace. Anyway, that's my story. I'm curious, what do you all think about this? Would you have handled it differently? What would you have done in my shoes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd really like to hear your take on this. And if you found this story worth sharing, hit that like button. Share it with someone who might relate. Thanks again for sticking around till the end. See you in the next one.